All right. Today we're going to look at something that every guitar player has to understand, and I don't care what I mean, a lot of you maybe this is way like not close to where you are at in terms of your level, but I happen to think that the way we understand things is essential to the way we improvise and the way we write and so on. So I'm going to launch in here. What got me psyched about this, about doing this lesson is that in my own research, trying to understand what other players are doing on YouTube and how they are educating, if you will. I ran into a fellow with like 500,000 views, who's a very good-looking guy, and he taught this, and it was just not right, and it's an important point. So I'm going to dig into that right now. We're in the key of A. This is a basic blues. It's probably like the kind of blues that you played when you were just learning how to play. Right? That there's the deal. I mean, and so if you go to books, what many of these so-called guitar instructional books will tell you is that this is an A, like an A power chord, A5. This is an A6, and this is an A7, right? 5, 6, 7. Okay. Well, that's wrong. It's not. And it doesn't imply an A6 at all. What it implies is a 4 chord. So what you're in an inversion. So what you're actually hearing is an A to a D, or a 1 to a 4, right? Now if I flesh that out it a little bit, you're hearing with the inversions, this is what's happening. Okay, so what it is you're going from a one chord A to a first inversion D chord, back to a one chord of A7, back to the D, and back to the one chord of A. All right. Now, so what, right? I mean, why is that important? Well, because you can begin to imply these ideas in your soloing, and in your general understanding of the fretboard. I mean, one of the classic movements in music generally is a plagal cadence, a 1 to a 4. And that's all that is, right? And now if I take that same idea, that 1, 4 to that A7, all right. So I mean that sounds like that's what's going on here, right? Right. So it's a 1-4 progression, right? And whether the first chord's a 7 or not, that's not really important. Essentially, it's just 1-4, 1-4, 1-4, right? If you take a little, let's say you take a little lick in the key of A. How about this? Now that lick, what is that lick? Is that just like some kind of scale, or you're going to start, going through the, oh, well, that's a 13 and that's a this and that's a that. Well, no, it's just a one chord. There's my key, and then four chord, right, with the A still sounding below it because that A note is in the four chord, right? As a matter of fact, you see, I can pedal that A chord, and it sounds great over both of those chords because there's an A, and I can pedal that A note because that A note is a part of each of those chords. The A note obviously is the root of the A chord, and it's the fifth of the D chord, right? So if I pedal that, it's going to be the same thing. Now, if I use that same concept with sort of more chordal type single note lines, right? So here's my root, and then my four. I mean, so my line becomes just the four with that flat three. Sorry, I threw that in. Four to the one, right? So that's a classic change that's used all the time. It lifts that one chord up, right? It gives us a little bit more interest. If we go from the one chord to the four chord to the inversion of the A chord with a seven on top, we end up with these cool little lines. Right? Right there. The same idea. Right? That you end up with there. So you can extrapolate this across the entire fretboard, obviously, in every key, obviously, right? If I were to give you something, say, well, do this as an exercise, I would suggest, for instance, well, here's another example. Here's another example in the key of E. So in the key of E, that's exactly the same line, right? You've got an E, and then you've got an A chord in first inversion, and then you've got an E7 chord with the seventh down here and the five on top. Okay, so if you're in the key of E, it's all, what you're going to want to do, or in the key of A or whatever, is have the wherever you are on the fretboard, be able to play the four above the chord that you're playing. So a four above E, right, is that. If you want to take it further than that, you can take it further than that, maybe to the next inversion of the one chord, right? Let's say we're in G. 1 to 4 would be G C. Right. If we're in the in a different inversion. The important thing is that you begin to hear single note lines as representing chordal ideas. A single note line as simple as this one that we started with really is a 1 to a 4 to back to a 1 as a 7 chord. 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 4. You can just do 1 4s forever all over the fretboard, and you will learn so much just by taking your triads and doing your 4 chords. You don't necessarily even, these are very often played just as embellishments, right? It's not like you're waiting for a new chord change to happen. It's just an embellishment on the existing chord of the moment. That you've heard these lines over and over again. 1 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord. And remember that when you play a triad, or chord progression, whatever it happens to be, like when you're playing these notes, remember that when you're inverting, when you invert the chord, you're ending up with a new note on top all the time, right? And the listener hears that top note. Right, and so all you're really doing is just called an upper neighbor, and that just wants to fall back down to the chord of the moment. So 1 4 wherever they happen, right? That you should get, if you're playing a single chord, make sure that you know where the 4 is as well, and that doesn't just mean in a rhythm style. That also means when you're playing the blues, for instance. Keep in mind that moving to that 4 is a classic. Classic lick, classic idea. So 1 to 4 to 1 to 4 to 1 to 4, and yes, you can add the 7, which we did at the beginning there. There's the 7, right? And this is not a 6. It's a D major chord, or a 4 major chord in first inversion. Okay, I hope that made sense. That was like a bit of a rant, but it's really these things are important to get right, and because when you get them right, you can expand that idea. You can allow that idea to evolve. You can experiment with it all over the fretboard. Yeah, it's a basic idea, like a 1 chord to a 4 chord, right? What's complicated about that? But when you take a 1 chord to a 4 chord, and you move that all across the fretboard in all its inversions, new things start to unfold, and new ideas, melodic ideas, soloing ideas, and chordal ideas as well. So no, this is not, as I said, it's not a 1 chord to a 1 6 chord to a 1 7 chord. It implies a 4 chord. All right, that's it for today, and I hope that was a help to you. Work your way through the triads up and down the fretboard, going 1 to 4, and try to connect the first chord up further, right? So start on one inversion, move to the next one, and then move it up further that way, through and try that all up and down the fretboard. Okay, I hope this was a help to you. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you again real soon.